Hey, hello, folks. Welcome to Pro Trader Strategies. My name's Eric Wilkinson, and this is Spotting the Trade. I'm going to get you folks what you need to know before you roll, and that's going to talk about the economic data, how it impacts the overall markets with some market analysis, maybe sprinkle in a little fodder to round that all off, and then talk about some option strategies we could implement into a portfolio based on the assumptions we come up with and all the internals we're looking at in these market analysis. So please check that out. Don't forget to hit the like button and smash the subscribe little bell right next to it. It'll give you the unannounced videos that I'm doing, kind of like this one here. All right, so let's get on with the overall markets, because really there's not a whole lot to see here in regards to economic data. We did across the pond get some housing numbers, things like that. U.S. economic forecast, not really coming in great. We're actually seeing the trade balance come in lower than expected, much lower there on that front. Also in Canada, housing starts a little bit better than expected. All the way back here to the United States, we got the Empire manufacturing number, folks. This number missed massively. These were some of the numbers that we were looking at that were actually looking pretty good. And I just started saying, we're seeing a little bit of a disconnect here. I usually like to see the PMI, which is the purchasing managers forward-looking aspects. Those were looking pretty good. We're seeing a lot of other things in the economy kind of shudder a little bit. We're seeing some layoffs ahead of this. Carvana we talked about, and some other folks are starting to see some layoffs there. Well, in that time, we were seeing the manufacturing folks really think that the economy was going to start trudging along even better. Well, not really showing up here in the manufacturing number for New York. That coming in at -11, expected to be a +15. We're going to be having all kinds of Fed governors speaking. Something we've seen already is Bernanke. He usually doesn't like to talk a whole lot. Well, he's actually been quite boisterous in what he believes is going on here in and around the economies. So keep your eyes out for those interviews. As a matter of fact, we also got Williams and a couple other folks speaking a little bit later on today. Now that we're past this FOMC meeting that we just had recently, they're allowed to talk about whatever they want. So we'll probably see a lot of talk about how the U.S. economy is doing right now. All right, crude oil, it is off a little bit, still holding on to $100 a barrel. As a matter of fact, we were seeing folks talk about the the national average for U.S. gasoline is breaking historical records here with these prices. Yeah, it's not quite the all-time highs that we've seen, but keep in mind when you head into summer, there's also a summer blend that is a little bit more pricey. So that's also helping drive price higher here as well. Bonds, not a whole lot to see there, but with the equities and gold right here, we've got a retainer of value that's not been retaining value during the sell-off. We've been seeing some strength in the US dollar, which should cause a little bit of downward pressure in dollar denominated products like this, but really surprising to see gold sell off as much as it has if there's been fear of, systemic problems in the economy. And we're not really seeing that. So it's a bit of a disconnect. With that said, if gold's going to be selling off, it tells me that folks aren't really putting their money into a safe haven asset like gold or bonds for that matter. I was wondering if Bitcoin was going to be somewhere in that camp where Bitcoin was going to be one of those retainer of values or a store of value, if you will, when everything else is going crazy. Where do you park your money? You don't usually like to just sit it in cash or stick it in your bed or something like that to hide it. What we're doing is trying to put it to work, and we're not really seeing that get put to work in gold, which tells me that folks are really starting to try to do some value shopping in the markets with this pullback. So with that said, we did get some confirmations like we're seeing there in Bitcoin, VIX coming off, telling us that we're getting some confirmation here in the equities. As you can see here, we got on Friday, which I was a little bit weary about on a Friday, getting some upward momentum. That's a lot of times heading into a weekend. We'll see some negative pressure there, but some bottoming patterns here, confirmation on Friday of that upside move. Nothing really happened over the weekend that was really negative or disparaging. So I would think that we're going to be able to get a little bit of upward bounce here. How long is that going to last? I don't think we're going to see necessarily this leg lower, but we're going to have to keep an eye on the market action. Anything that's pretty negative could lead us down there. But at this point, I'm feeling like we're finally starting to gather the bottom here, or build ourselves a little bit of a bottom. Before that happens, I'm going to be looking to sell some puts in some names that I wouldn't mind owning if we got another leg down. So that's going to be the major consideration here on trades, is that we do get another leg lower, it's going to be something I don't mind adding to a portfolio for a longer duration type of trade or investment for that matter. If that does happen and I add that to my portfolio, I immediately look to start selling some covered calls in that trade. So with that said, I'm going to be looking for some equity opportunities here. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average also making confirmation. You can't tell really the difference between one chart to the next in the equities here. So with that said, I'm going to go to my steadfast and do what I kind of do in the morning, and that's giving myself a little bit of a rundown on individual stocks, see how they kind of finished out on Friday, see a bit where they are pricing in right now. Pretty wide market here on net tap, but again, looking for some bottoming patterns, and you can see across the board looking like we're finding a lot of markets that have found bottoms and have had confirmation yesterday. Now, the thing that I've been talking about are these dead cat bounces, where you get a one-day correction, bottoming pattern, get a nice confirmation, get everybody on board, and the market just gets the rug pulled out from underneath it. That's what we've been seeing recently. So I would stay away from this. I want to see more of a build out of this bottom, more of a confirmation that we're resuming before I start jumping on board. But things like Amazon, Apple are names that I'm thinking are looking pretty good, that have gotten pulled down during this. Fanes were the first ones to drop. So I think that there's going to be some opportunity with their bit of oversold to the downside, especially with a name like Amazon. I don't think that they're necessarily going anywhere, but you can see like Costco getting a pullback. Why Costco? It's a staple. That's something that's not going to really go anywhere. So I think an opportunity for selling puts in something like Costco is good. I'm staying away from Starbucks. You guys know that I'm kind of on this Dutch Bros kick with that market. I think it's going to end up taking over a little bit with a newer generation here. Twitter continues to see these drops as the drama around Elon continues. No real sign there as to whether or not he is officially taking it over. There's still some questions rising around that. Now, PIN, some of the gaming stocks finding a little bit of a bottom. Again, I would wait for real confirmation, but something like this where we're seeing these bottoming patterns happen is an opportunity. Again, MGM looking very similar. Ulta looking like a little bit of a bottom. Kroger, some of those staples, as people, like I said, have weak hands, they're going to hold on to those trades a little bit shorter duration as a market would turn around or even start to sell off. I think that those are what we're going to start seeing there with some of those names as well. All right. Other than that, looks like there's opportunities, but I'm not going to jump on full tilt right now. I'm going to test the waters a little bit, selling some puts and names I wouldn't mind adding to my portfolio. And that's how I'm going to roll through the rest of probably this week and maybe even May for that matter, seeing how this kind of all works itself out. All right. So that's all I got for you guys. Other than don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, because the subscribe bell right there will give you an indication when I'm popping in and out. And hey, folks, if you want to comment on the side. And we are, don't forget, on YouTube and on Facebook at the same time. So you can watch us in both locations. All right. So if you can't take that, take it easy. Take care.